In this lesson, you'll learn how to measure and draw a floor plan. There are 9 steps to help you draw a simple floor plan. Step 1, sketch out your space. Step 2, measure the overall length and width. Step 3, take measurements of the remaining walls. Step 4, measure doorways and other entries. Step 5, measure the wall height. Step 6, measure the size of the windows. Step 7, measure architectural features. Step 8, make a note of the location of any obstructions. Step 9, computerize your floor plan. Follow the step-by-step guide below with tips and tricks to measure and draw a floor plan. Download the free How to Measure a Floor Plan PDF checklist in the description below. Tools you'll need to measure and draw your space. You will need a metal tape measure that's 25 to 50 feet in length. This will allow you to measure the total width and length of your room. It's always a good idea to have a friend help you measure. Having a helper hold the other end of the tape will make the job go faster and make sure that you get accurate measurements. I highly recommend a laser measure tool for large rooms, but you'll still need the tape measure for the shorter areas like windows and doors. You will also need graph paper, which is recommended, or blank paper, a pencil and eraser, and then a pen to take notes. You'll also need that helper for large rooms, which is highly recommended. It makes it funner too. Steps to draw a floor plan. Step 1, sketch out your space. Sketch out your room on graph or blank paper. Include all architectural details, windows, doorways, fireplace openings, etc. It doesn't need to be pretty or to scale at this point. If you have accurate architectural drawings of your home, you can use those to start, but double check the measurements. Sometimes they change through the construction process. This will help you to avoid costly mistakes so you know all your furniture and decor is going to fit perfectly. Draw your sketch in pencil so that you can easily erase any mistakes. Proportions should be as accurate as possible. Pro tip, stand or sit in the middle of your room and draw each wall on your graph paper. After you draw the initial sketch in the shape of your room, go back in and add lines with breaks outside your sketch. This indicates where you need to fill in measurements. Note the placement of windows, door openings, entrances, etc. Add an outer line next to that to indicate the overall width and length of a room. This leaves space for you to add smaller measurements inside the sketch. Too many measurements on the inside can get small and confusing. Using the space outside your sketch makes it easier for you to read the measurements when you're computerizing your floor plan. The circles on this sketch indicate where measurements need to be filled in. Take pictures and video of the room so that you can refer back to them. They'll come in handy when you're computerizing your floor plan because chances are you're going to forget the little details and need a reminder. It's especially helpful when you don't live in the space that you're currently designing or when you're out and about shopping in the stores. This is an example of the sketch created while measuring for a bedroom makeover. Here are the pictures of the bedroom for reference. Take pictures from multiple angles so that you have them to refer back to. Take close-up pictures of any oddly shaped areas with multiple measurements like this recessed window area. Step 2, measure the overall length and width. Using a tape measure, measure the length of one wall from corner to corner along the baseboard. Start by measuring the overall length and width of the room. We'll add smaller measurements in afterwards. The smaller measurements should all add up to the overall width and length. This is a good way to double check your work as you go. To measure across the center of a room, place the tape measure at the end of the wall or under your baseboard. Extend the tape across from one wall to the other. Record your measurement. Measure the center length and width of your room. To take measurements across the center of a larger room with a tape measure, place the tape against the wall and work your way across. Step on the tape measure to keep it straight and flat as you walk across the room. This will prevent it from moving around and keep it flush against the floor. It can be a balancing act, but you'll get more accurate measurements. Work your way across the room from one end to the other. Add the measurement to your sketch. Follow this process to measure the overall width and length of your room. The tape measure can be locked by pushing down the button to hold it in place. Release to bring it back. The laser measurer is best for measuring the length and width of larger rooms. It's great because it can be locked to hold the measurement, giving you a chance to record it on your sketch. This allows you to stand at one end of a long room and measure across from one side to the other. It saves a huge amount of time and you'll be able to measure longer walls without needing a helper. Step 3. Measure the remaining walls. Continue measuring the remaining walls using the same method you used for the first. The typical room has 4 walls, but some, like L-shaped rooms, might have more. All wall measurements should be included in your sketch. Pro tip, start in a corner and work your way around the room, adding measurements to your sketch. When measuring along the baseboard or molding of a room, push down the tape measure against the floor and work your way across the wall. Keep it as straight and flat as possible to the end of the wall. Record your measurement. Step 4. Measure doorways and other entries. Note whether the door opens in or out of the room. Don't forget to measure the distances of all openings to hallways and open archways. For example, for this wall, start in the corner and measure across to the molding. Measure the width of the molding. Measure the width of the door and the molding again. Measure the wall between the moldings. Measure from the second door molding to the end of the wall. It's best to take all measurements at once so you don't have to remeasure later. Measure and record the location of thermostat and light switches because they affect your art placement. Step 5. Measure the height. You need to measure the height of your room from the floor to the ceiling. Include the heights of key openings if they affect the layout. Measure the height of the crown molding as it will impact the length of your window treatments. For normal size ceilings, stretch and bend the tape measure from floor to ceiling. Measure and record the height. If you have a tall ceiling, ask a friend to hold the tape measure on the floor and carefully stand on a ladder to record the ceiling height. The laser measure is best for ceilings, especially if you don't have a helper. Place it on the floor, and when the red dot hits the ceiling, press the red button to lock and hold the measurement. Step 6. Measure windows. Determine the size of your windows by measuring from one outside edge of your window frame to the other outside edge. This includes the width, height, and distance from the floor. Include the measurement from the window on each side to the corner of the wall or the next window opening. To measure the window width, start at the corner and measure to the molding. Measure the width of the window and moldings. Measure the remaining wall from the molding edge to the corner. For the window height, measure from the floor to your molding. Measure the window height and the moldings on the top and the bottom. Measure the space from the top edge of the molding to the crown molding and/or ceiling line. These measurements are important for not only window treatments, but knowing if furniture can fit in the space between the floor and windowsill. Step 7. Measure architectural details. Any architectural details in the room must be measured. This includes your fireplaces, brackets, shelves, and built-in areas. Note and measure the height and width of your doors, outlets and switches, air returns, light fixtures, your ceiling height, your crown moldings, and then your floor moldings if they affect the furniture placement. Step 8. Indicate the location of any obstructions. Note where heat and air conditioning ducts, radiators, coverings for electrical wires, plumbing pipes, and exposed pipes are located. Any obstructions that affect the design should be accounted for. Step 9. Computerize your floor plan. Once you have all your measurements, it's time to get them in the computer. Watch the lesson, How to Computerize Your Floor Plan, for step-by-step instructions. Action steps. Download the free How to Measure and Draw a Floor Plan PDF checklist in the description below. Follow the steps listed to measure and create a sketch of your room. In the next lesson, you'll learn to computerize your measurements.